Hi, so today I want to talk about strength conditioning for your golfers, or say performance programming for your golfers in terms of, you could say, basically fitness. There's a few key points that we want to go over when it comes to how you communicate with golfers about fitness, the utility of fitness training, and the importance, significance of fitness training. And of course, this is going to change depending on if you're talking to a youth golfer, a college competitive golfer, or an older individual. A club member, someone like that, and how you communicate to them about golf. I just want to give you some information that you can use if you get questions about fitness training and different programming for golf, the utility of it, if it's important or not, beyond the obvious benefits of fitness training just for general health, longevity, and everything that comes along with that, and the kind of the American culture around health, right? Health and fitness. So beyond that, if we're talking how can this help golf? Well, the short answer is fitness training can be exceptionally helpful for golf. And then there's obviously different categories to that. So first and foremost, the more we move, the better we get at moving. So if you have an older individual, let's say, who is really lacking in mobility, they just can't get in these positions that you're asking them to get into, or you find a workaround where you say, fine, we'll just won't get into these positions where they're able to improve that way, but not to their full true potential, right? So the more they are moving, the less of that you will run into. Now, having a golf-specific program will have better chances of improving the things that you really need to improve on. A true old-fashioned sagittal plane dominated fitness program will be limited in how well we improve our mobility for a golfer, right? If we're just flexing and extending, which is, think of it like a back squat, a deadlift, a bench press, a shoulder press, dumbbell curls, whatever. If we're just moving this sagittal plane front to back, we have very little transverse plane, right, rotation. Not to mention, well, first of all, we know how important that is for golf, right, to be able to rotate. But also think about how important it is to move in the frontal plane, which is going to be pushing from side to side, shifting weight from side to side, and things like that. Or having the strength there to not shift from side to side, or to limit how much shifting is occurring without stopping weight transfer. So we need to be able to weight transfer without breaking stability, which you can think of as like a slide or a sway, right? So frontal plane, again, not really addressed in your typical old-fashioned sagittal plane programming. Where we're moving in this plane here. Everything is in this plane. So that being said, there's a lot of improvements that can come from an old-fashioned typical, hey, I'm just going to go to the gym and do what I know what to do, right? And things I've seen that I know how to do. I can squat. Maybe if they're older, if they're not squatting, they can still do a leg press against sagittal plane. Maybe they can do some bench pressing, dumbbell pressing, shoulder pressing, whatever. Still benefit, but not so much in the mobility. Some, but not to the degree that we would certainly want to achieve. The benefits they are getting from this in this old-fashioned sagittal plane training is, they're improving their horizontal press, they're improving their vertical press, their lower extremity strength, and even though they're not training in this frontal plane, they can improve some lateral or side hip strength, which is the muscles we use, especially at least to move in the frontal plane, and even rotation at the pelvis. So they will get some benefits in terms of strength stability through there. Now, what the research is saying and the reviews are saying is that improving a bench press, improving your numbers on a bench press, should show up in club head speed. That strength should show up in the club head speed, ball speed, and distance. Improving squat strength should improve club head speed. Improving a shoulder press should improve some club head speed. Now, pairing that up with, again, a more golf-specific version is just that we would include two things, rotation and frontal plane movement, which can improve that transfer at least, I think, better. It could also work on a little bit of mobility stuff, like we mentioned earlier, which could be missing. And that last thing is just integration. So we're training strength in this frontal plane as well as this transverse plane. We're training mobility in there, and then we're just training overall strength, which again transfers or translates into power. You can think of it as, just keep it very simple, this isn't necessarily true, but let's say your power output is 40% of your max strength. So if we bring everything down to just newtons, right? Let's say 100% of the most strength you can produce is X amount of newtons. Now, if we translate power to newtons, the most power we can produce would be potentially 40% of that max strength, right? Just giving you some numbers. The strength, the top amount of force we can produce will always be highest in a more slow production of strength. And then the most force we can produce at high speeds is what we call power. So power is always going to be a little bit less in terms of that. So if we can improve our ceiling, which is strength, we will kind of drag that power along. That's kind of the thought there. So strength's important. Something we can do, especially if you have a more specific golf programming, is program around power too. So we can help that process along, where maybe if we're getting 40% of our strength in power, we can improve our strength so that our power comes along with it. But what we can also do is improve our efficiency to produce power, which means that without having to improve strength, we can improve power output just by improving our skill and ability to produce power in something that's more of a golf-specific manner. So we can attack both in that way, and more of a golf-specific programming. So if your clients or your students are coming up and asking about, should I strength train? Is that useful even for golf if I go into the gym and maybe do something 3 days a week? Absolutely yes. Not to mention just the general health effects. If you want to golf longer, live longer, so yeah, train, but also in terms of being able to produce more force. Now, the injury prevention is all there as well. The more strength, motor control over a certain area that we can have, the better in terms of injury prevention. And then again, if we can make a golf-specific programming, even better. So you can kind of relay this information to any of your clients or students where, general strength training will be really great for you, actually. If you see those numbers starting to improve on the bench press, we're going to work hard on the tee here to translate that for you and see a little bit more distance, right? Club head speed, if you're using some devices to help you measure that. Also, we should expect that any consistency should get improved as well. And there's data in some of the research that has shown in some studies that even consistency measurements have improved. Again, this is we're talking small percentages here, maybe barely significantly statistically significant, but they're nonetheless. So more research will come out. A lot of issues with golf-specific research is the lack of control groups, unfortunately. But again, there are still some out there and some good reviews that are talking about all this stuff. So if your clients are looking to get just a little extra nudge and why they should be taking their fitness a little bit more seriously, is, hey, you can improve your golf game no matter what you're doing. The more specific we can get, the better, right? Just in terms of transfer, but that's a very controversial topic in terms of transfer between weight room and any sport, and the ways that are best to do that. What I would say is working on very specific things like, you can think of it as like the X factor or just that pelvic separation. That's about the extent of it in the clinic working with me, whether it's the fitness side or the rehab performance treatment plan side, is always working on that integration. So we always make sure that if you work on mobility of the trunk and mobility of the pelvis, that we're also working on stability at whatever areas need it, so that we can be strong within our new domain, but then also integrating that motor control so that they can learn how to separate, again, trunk, pelvis in different areas, and just master that control over that, so that when they're on the tee and practicing, they have so much less to worry about, and they can focus really concentrating on just impact and whatever things that you guys are telling them to focus on and work on. So again, I will include a brief summary of this and some data that we'll do one big review study that you can look at and get a lot of info from. But again, you can let them know, hey, if your bench press numbers are going up, there's potential we can see that translate just from doing that, just from getting into the gym and doing that. All right. If you're working with college students that are competing, again, you can reinforce, take that seriously. It should transfer, and it'll make our jobs a little bit easier. If you're working with older adults, you can say, hey, this is something else that you can do to help improve. If they have questions about it, you can let them know. Even these things that don't look very golfy will have improvements to your performance, and they'll make our job easier out here too. So that is in general, strength conditioning for golfers. Why it's important to maybe help push golfers that are looking for any steps to take for improvement to consider that strength training. And then even better would be say, hey, go to a professional that is creating programs around this level of specificity if they want the most they can get, without maybe having to do things like back squats, heavy back squats, bench presses, deadlifts, right? Don't necessarily need any of that stuff, but it's important to know that those things will show translation, this raw generic strength improvement. And there's different ways of doing it where we don't have to put a bar on your back. But that's just the easiest way of getting that point across, is that these old school movements will make you stronger, and that'll show on the T-box. So hopefully that was helpful for any of your future clients that have questions on the topic. I'll include some research in this as well for anyone that is interested in taking a look at that. Just a brief review of some of the last decade of research and even longer. So again, hopefully that was helpful.